Hello everyone, today we're looking at a new release from Heljan. This is its latest batch of Class 33s, available in the later life condition of the class with the high intensity headlight as seen here and the addition of the frost grills, and also in its originally produced guise by the manufacturer and as released to traffic without these, and the manufacturer is producing both variants in a whole wealth of new liveries, which is great news for 00 gauge modelers, and it's also got some great deals with retailers for a couple of locomotives that you can buy together as a pack, and also locomotives with various wagons from Heljan, such as its tankers. So check those out if you want an entire train during this lockdown period. Anyway, this here, kindly sent for review from Heljan, is 33021 Eastleigh in the very striking and quite pungent, in-your-face red. You can't miss it, it's great. It's post office red. This was a locomotive. We'll come into its how it got into this livery later on in this video, but it's certainly non-standard for a Class 33. Anyway, the locomotive was released to traffic in 1961, 14th of January actually, and the locomotives are the Class 33s. There were 98 built, and testament to the design that it lasted as long as it did until the 1990s with for many with BR. I mean, there were heavy inroads in the 1980s into the class, but at least a third of the class has survived the cutter's torch. 29 remain preserved, which is great news for enthusiasts and fans of diesel-electric locomotives alike. So the locomotive here was D6539 when it was first released to traffic, and just 3 years after its release. Now, overall the class has been very successful, proved its worth, reliable, and the Crompton Parkinson equipment on board them, including the traction motors, has sort of served them well. However, this locomotive had a bit of an unfortunate event 3 years after being released to traffic, where apparently some various oil contamination was impregnated around the exhaust area, and a bit of an exhaust blow caused an engine fire. But it wasn't severe, didn't condemn the locomotive, and luckily didn't spread, because some areas of these locomotives were actually made of fiberglass. The cab surrounds all of this area here. If you look closely at a preserved Class 33, of which there are many, this one included, you'll note that they are fiberglass moulded cab surrounds, and a little bit rough to the finish as well. So that's something that you may or may not want to include on your model for authenticity. That was in 1964, that fire, anyway. 10 years later, in January of 74, it gained its first tops number. Well, its only tops number actually, 33021. That would have been at the time in BR Blue, and this locomotive has seen its fair share of liveries, because although BR Blue was its main livery until say 89 or so, where it would then be applied in the two-tone, I think actually it suited the 33s quite well, but it was two-tone grey with the rail freight construction livery, and it would survive until 97 with BR in that livery. Withdrawn from service in 97, it was then bought privately and was repainted into this livery, outshopped from Eastleigh with the depot plaque there, named Eastleigh. Bit of a pet locomotive, I think, with the depot, this one, because it was shedded at Eastleigh for many years, and the post office red, clearly a choice by its owners, I presume its new owners, or maybe, who knows what the story is behind this. Maybe Eastleigh had a tin of post office red knocking about. I guess we'll never know. Yeah, very striking livery, and it wouldn't survive in this livery for that long, because this would be 97 it was released from traffic, and already in the early 2000s it would enter service with Fragonset Merlin Rail. So at that point it would be in the all over black with that maroon stripe, and it would then be in that livery until they became defunct, where it would then pass to preservation at the Churnet Valley Railway, And the Churnit Valley Railway itself, I mean, it would undergo a couple of liveries. First of all, be our blue with the extended yellow ends around the cab, and then of course again it would see this livery of Post Office red. So in summary, this locomotive has seen this livery twice. First in '97 and most recently 2019. However, the locomotive has undergone subtle differences between its first repaint into the red and its most recent. Most notably are the little headlights at the bottom here, or rather the tail lights should I say. These are plated over today. This occurred in 1998, only a year after its first repaint into the livery. When it was first repainted in this livery, it had the little black 021 numbering at the bottom right, and then a year later, when these were repainted over, that would be lost. Small differences between, in terms of livery, between that first repaint and its current one are these little steps here. Now this is beautifully detailed from Heljan. Fair play to them. It's a great addition to the model, or as is all of the detail around the buffer beam actually. On its first release these would be black. As it is today, these are silver. So we've got a cross between the two eras here. If you want to present the locomotive and you want to be sort of ultra realistic and ultra on it, so to speak, with your in terms of detail and accuracy, then you can easily, I'd suggest perhaps removing these with a scalpel and then painting over with a little bit of yellow paint just to hide the lights there. Or alternatively, you can present the locomotive in its 1997 guise and just add a little 021, paint these black, and have it that way. If you went a small little thing aside as well, if you want to do it as it is today, these little lifting eyes here should also be red. Heljan's interpretation of the model is, I mean, for anybody else, if this is trundling past on your layout, nobody's going to notice, you know. I mean, these are little LEDs, they work, they're directional, beautifully executed by the manufacturer, but if you just turn that function off and you want to have it as it is today with these blanked over and, like I say, just paint them yellow or something, then you're probably not going to notice that at all, and it's hardly the crime of the century. In terms of detail, the model is absolutely outstanding. I mean, it's a compact locomotive to start with. It's actually one of my favourite designs, the Class 33. The cab itself has been absolutely nailed to perfection, I think, in terms of the high intensity headlight. That's the addition with this latest batch. Beautifully executed there, and it's not the easiest of colours to get right, Post Office red, but I think they've absolutely well perfected it. In terms of the other areas of paint around the model, there's a few areas I would have perhaps preferred to have seen painted, such as the fuel tank area here, which has been left in shiny plastic, perhaps the battery box as well, and those buffers, which are very, very shiny. But it's not beyond, you know, the wit of man to paint those either a silver colour or a bit of matte black, depending on which era you're modelling the locomotive in. Same with the fuel tank really, and although the locomotive has been preserved today, you can give it a quick spray with some weathering along the chassis area. Although if you are doing that in its current guise, don't forget to paint the springs the red and blue colours respectively. Just take a look at many of the photographs online. Beautiful model. In terms of detail, it's absolutely spot on. I can't fault the manufacturer for anything in terms of detail. I mean, the buffer beam detailing there is absolutely incredible. All of the air hoses and multiple working couplers are all represented in full and applied to the model from the box. Yes, you get an accessory pack with the Cabshaw radio pods there, which are painted to colour match the cab roof, and you get also some ploughs and little spares should you accidentally knock the odd little air hose off, but you know, I don't think they're that vulnerable where they are, as long as you handle the model with care. And a great delight to see as well are these, you know, screw link couplings, which, although not working, you could easily use those on the model to hook up to many of the wagons which now have coupling hooks, and you know, have even more accuracy on your layout. Also included with the model is a helpful instruction sheet with all of the spare parts you may or may not require, and also how to install a NEM652 8-pin DCC decoder, which just fits somewhere in there in the inside of the model. Bit of a brief history there as well of the class, and you know, prototype specifications, etc. So if you want to get hold of one of these Class 33s, I recommend you visit your retailer or your retailer's website, as we're in lockdown at the moment, quite rapidly, because they're sure to sell out quite rapidly. I do believe that this is one of the best selections for liveries we've seen from Heljan across a model. I mean, if you take a look at the retailers' websites that are offering these, you'll just see how many different iterations there are. This is absolutely music to the ears of you know, sort of BR Blue onwards modelers, and there's no reason at all why you couldn't at least justify more than one, particularly if you're modelling a southern region layout. So there you go, that's a quick look at Heljan's latest Class 33. You'll be able to read the full review in the July issue of BRM, and take a look at our mini review on World of Railways too.